Aha. Hey guys, hello, money magicians. How are you? I had to start over because I realized that I was completely unfocused the first time round. Energetically, I was like, I just need 30 seconds. I've been busy with the Money Magic podcast. So I was like, welcome to the Money Magic podcast because today is Tuesday. We had a podcast go out and it's a really, really good one, right? So, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about what happens when you feel unsafe with not having money. I've spoken a lot about what happens when you feel unsafe with having money. Now we're looking at the opposite with not having money, right? So if you've just joined, my name is Vangile and I help mainly women of color heal ancestral money trauma. And I work in particular with women who are high earners but are really struggling to save and change their spending habits, or very highly educated women and really incredible entrepreneurs who just find themselves really stuck at a money set point. Hi, Dumelo, nice to see you. Okay, so let us have a conversation about feeling about safety, feeling unsafe with having money, and the flip side of feeling unsafe with not having money. So this actually comes from a conversation that I've been having with one of the followers on this page. Her name is Dee. So I'm going to just look, we went back and forth and I was like, let me just do a video on this because I think it's so much easier to explain certain things on video. But before I go there, guys, I've been sharing that I'm in Glamour magazine this month. I am. Glamour actually gave me a copy on Saturday. I went to Durban and I was the speaker and I was talking about my latest book, What's Your Money Personality? And they surprised me and had bought absolutely everyone who attended the event a copy of my book. So people got to got a free copy of my book, and I got to do a book signing, and then I'm also doing an Instagram live with them in about 2 weeks. But do you see? That's What's Your Money Personality? I don't know. I keep going out of focus there. That's me. So that's the book, and it's all about financial freedom. Yeah, so that's so nice. I wish I could I'm going to be telling Teen Me that, you know what, we are in Glamour this month. And we've been in a bunch of other magazines as well, just by following your heart. So keep doing it. So I'm very, very excited though. So I had to share with you guys. But let's get started. So one of the things that Dee had a conversation with me about was I was talking about what happens when you feel unsafe with money. So it's pretty simple. When you feel, it's pretty logical, I think, when we think about it, right? When you feel unsafe with anything or anyone, how do you behave? You want to run from that person, right? If they make you feel unsafe, you want to avoid them, you want to run away from them, you don't want to communicate with them, you don't want to deal with them, right? If you feel unsafe with anything, be an environment, you try to avoid that environment, right? Oh, thank you, Palisa. So you want, thank you, Dumelo, although your middle name is Palisa, yes. So, yeah, and you want to run away and you want to avoid every single thing to do with this person, right? You don't want to get to know them better. And if you're in an environment that makes you feel unsafe, you tend to stay away from that environment, right? So money is a thing, but there are things that can make us feel unsafe. And sometimes we run away from those things as well, right? It is no different with money. When we feel unsafe with money, we're going to run away from money. And the way that we would usually run away from money as people is that we would actually end up we would end up spending money as fast as it comes into our bank account so that we don't have to deal with that, with money, right? In the same way that when I feel unsafe with a person, or any of us feel unsafe with a person, we try to run from that person, right? We basically try to avoid them at all times. So if you've had like icky, like we know sometimes as women that like there are men that hit on you on the streets or something and they make you feel completely unsafe. Your first thing is to run from them. The next thing is we are taught to ignore them, right? And then other people are taught to fight them, right? And you swear at them, you go into fight mode. This is the same thing that happens with us with money, right? So we'll run away from money. And one way that we run away from money, the one thing that happens when we're in running away mode is we avoid anything that has to do with money, right? So if I am an entrepreneur and I have to send an invoice, why would I want to send an invoice? An invoice means that I have to talk about money. So I'm going to delay sending an invoice as much as possible. So you may find yourself procrastinating, running away from sending invoices, right? So that's one of the things that may happen when we are feeling deeply unsafe with money, right? The other thing is we may literally run away from our bills. So because we don't feel safe dealing with money, we don't want to actually look at our bills. We don't want to talk about our debts. We don't answer the phone with creditors, people that we owe. When you owe someone money, you pretend that you don't even remember that you owe them money. You know those people that you borrow money to and then like literally you see them all the time, but they never ever bring up that they owe you money? That's how you would behave if you feel unsafe with money, right? You hope that other people forget. You don't talk about your finances, all of those things. So that's some of the ways that we start to run away from money, right? And the other thing is we also hide from money. I mean, the most obvious thing when you feel unsafe with someone, whenever, let's imagine that you have a creepy person that usually comes to visit you and you feel unsafe with them. At some point, you're going to start hiding. You're going to pretend you're not home. You're going to block them. You're going to do all sorts of things if you're not a confrontational person, right? So what happens then is that you literally find yourself getting rid of money and hiding from money, right? So how we hide from money, especially in terms of income, is that you invisibilize yourself. So somehow it doesn't matter how great you are, you don't get that visibility, right? Clients don't know about you. You become the best kept secret. It becomes hard for you to talk about your prices of your products and services. It becomes hard for you to sell your products and services. You just don't talk about it. And then when it comes time for promotion, it's hard for you to, if you are employed, to negotiate a better promotion. It's hard for you to negotiate a better salary. I remember when I would be doing piece jobs in different parts of the world when I was younger, people would ask me, so how much do you want to get paid? I'd say my number, right? And then they'd ask me, why do you want to get paid that much? Right? And I could never ever answer. And this happened to me a lot, especially when I was interviewing for the MBA program, right? Now I had this MBA and I thought, when people ask me how much do you want to get paid, just saying I have an MBA would be enough. But I didn't even know how to articulate the amount of money that I wanted to get paid. So I would like half it in job interviews, right? So that was really, really stressful. So we tend to hide from money as well, right? And then what's the other thing? We also go into freeze mode, because when we're scared and we feel unsafe, we may go into freeze mode. So anything to do with money may leave us completely frozen in place. So the bill comes, or you have to talk about money with your friends and family, and you just find yourself absolutely frozen, right? So that's pretty easy. Now what happens when you find yourself on the other end and you are feeling unsafe with not having money, right? And so with Dee, we had this whole conversation. I'm going to try and see if I can get the conversation that we had and get back to it, and then just like reiterate some of the things that were coming that she had, because I think that it could be a better way to explain what we were talking about, right? To actually read some of those things verbatim. She said, is it possible for one to not feel safe with money when they are barely making money? Let's say they can't save at that point in their life, and they end up, and because of that, they may end up being in freeze mode or flight mode. So I think, so when I asked and went deeper, I said, and then she said, but when they are able to save, they somehow automatically feel safe with money. I said, totally, that is completely possible, right? And then she asked another question. She said, I guess in this case, one may end up attracting emergencies once they have money, like how you've mentioned previously, right? So I said, okay, if you feel safe, so I responded, I said, if you feel unsafe with not having money, and that's your main thing, then it's going to be a different scenario to attracting emergencies. If you feel unsafe with having money, you may attract emergencies, right? But if you feel unsafe with not having money, if not having any money in your account freaks you out, that happens for most of us, but at the same time, we also feel unsafe with money. So we do this yo-yo thing, right? I have money, I feel unsafe. I don't have money, I feel unsafe because I have the fear of running out of money. But if it's, for most people, when they feel deeply unsafe with not having money, they will become people that save continuously, right? Chances are they always have something saved up, but they may also have a deep, deep fear of spending money, right? And when you have a fear of spending money, most of us are definitely praised for that in our society, right? It's that if I fear spending money, that means I'm a great saver, right? I can save. And most of us are really praised for that. But here's the flip side, right? You want to get to a point, when I talk about getting to a point of regulation and neutrality around money, we're talking about feeling okay even with letting money go, right? Because think about it. If you maybe feel unsafe with not having, so now we talked about the guy who makes you feel unsafe, right? Now let's have a conversation about the only time you feel safe is when the guy is around, right? Think about that from a romantic perspective. The only time I feel happy or safe is when this guy is around. I'm not happy or safe at the thought of him going away, at the thought of being alone by myself. Do you see how then you become needy and clingy, and how that completely also ruins a relationship? Because you're like, I need you at all times because my safety comes from you, right? And we all know how that can completely change a relationship dynamic. It is exactly the same thing about around money. That's why I keep saying, think of money as a lover, right? So when the only time we feel safe is if we have money in our bank accounts. That also creates issues, right? That means, just like with the guy, we don't want to let him go. If he goes to the shops, we follow him. If he goes anywhere, in 5 minutes, we're calling him. You know, anything that this guy does is under a microscope, and you can only imagine what kind of a relationship that feels like for the other party, right? And even for us, because then our entire obsession is this person. We kind of lose focus of ourselves, and we lose ourselves in that relationship dynamic, right? So when we feel unsafe with not having money as well, then what we'll probably do is we'll hold on to money for dear life. We'll have a hard time spending money. And that itself also causes a different dynamics, right? It means that every time we spend money, it freaks us out because we're so scared that we're going to run out of money, won't have enough money. And how that plays out, I mean, we've seen how people reuse spaghetti water, right? How people won't throw out bath water, all sorts of things. because they don't know how to have that flowy relationship with money. And energetically, it also closes us off to making more money and attracting more money. So that's one thing on a very energetic level. Just keep thinking about the relationship dynamic of being the clingy girlfriend who needs to know every single movement that their boyfriend is making, right? Like every single thing, and how that then starts to impact you, how that then starts to impact that relationship, right? Same energetic dynamics in your relationship with money. And then the other thing is just, let's not even talk about the energetics, right? Let's now get very, very practical. If you are scared to let money go and scared to spend money, how likely are you to take risks when you need to take risks and actually do something to help money make money? Right? Chances are it's very low. You're unlikely to invest in yourself because everything causes like a mini heart attack for you, right? It feels very, very scary letting that money go. So yeah, you'll have money in the bank sitting there, but you'll also make very, very low risk investments only and get very, very low returns. So the chances of money making money in a significant way start to diminish because every investment has risk. And the first thing that you're taught in finance is that, I remember this, like I love it, right? That's the one thing that I always took away from finance, is that the higher the risk, the higher your return, right? So you have, but we're not talking about stupid risk here. We're not talking about you investing in something that promises you 40% return per annum, because that isn't sustainable. But we are talking about investing in shares, ETFs that, at least in South Africa and other quote unquote emerging economies, can offer 15 to 20% return on investment per annum, right? But if you are so scared of losing money or spending money, then every time you see the stock market do what the stock market does, you are going to freak out, right? And it's going to become harder for you to just build wealth. So that is a huge, huge problem, right? So, and then do you see, could it be that one is dependent on money? Yes, one can be dependent on money, right? We are all dependent on money, Dee. This is a fact. All of us, none of us can live without money, right? Just like love, we all need love in our lives, right? But if we are super needy in our relationships and we don't know how to let go and when to let go, it's going to have an impact on us. So what is the difference between people that are okay with letting money go and invest and people that are so scared to let money go, right? Is that those people the people that can't let money go, can't spend money and remain calm and regulated, and can't invest in themselves, in other things, and remain calm and regulated, are people that draw their sense of safety from money, and it's an external factor, right? Because the truth, and here's why that is very, very dangerous, right? Because anything can happen in this world, right? Anything can happen. We are so unprepared, right? For so many things could happen. Tomorrow an earthquake could happen. Our currency could completely lose value, right? Just an earthquake in South Africa, a flood, all these things, and somehow the country's economy is affected. All these other things. But if everything, our entire sense of safety came from just how much money we had, and that was the bulk of our safety, and then the currency starts to lose value, we go into hyperinflation, it can completely destabilize us, right? The world could go into a whole new catastrophe, right? That starts to impact financial markets. But if you lose your head every time something happens with money, it lessens your ability to make creative financial decisions, right? You could literally be like me from 2008 to 2010, just having panic attacks every time you have to deal with money. And that is not actually, it doesn't help anyone. It's not helpful. So what we want is to get to a point where we are feeling regulated regardless of what's in our bank accounts, right? Whether it's a zero, whether it's $100,000, R1,000,000, right? You want to get to a point where you feel regulated, so that, especially if you're an entrepreneur as well, right? So that when the bad business months come, you are not completely destabilized. You don't end up like completely shutting down the business, giving up. You are able to continue to take action so that things can turn around. That's ultimately what we're aiming for. This is why I keep saying that the goal with this work and with the work that I teach and with all my clients is to get to a point where you are calm and have a regulated nervous system regardless of how much is in your account, so that you don't do this, I love money, when I have money, I'm so grateful for money, and then you don't have an extreme, oh my God, I don't have money, money's running out, and anxiety attack, because then you can't really build a great relationship with money. And I promise you, when people get to this is when you're able to really do incredible things financially, because then you're able to look at money neutrally, right? And when that happens, you're able to make investment decisions from a neutral standpoint, not from a standpoint of, oh my gosh, tomorrow or in a year, this amount of money needs to double or triple. You're able to be very rational and make proper investment decisions and have conversations around money and understand what average returns on investment are and how to grow your wealth, right? So that is ultimately what we're looking for. I know it sounds counterintuitive in a world where you're told that you should be excited, super emotional about money, all these things. But in those moments, what happens when things don't go well in business? Right? I just come from 2 years where I had 4 legal cases and I had to spend over 500,000 Rand that I had not budgeted on just for lawyers, right? And I did that within a space of 8 months. I had to make decisions around liquidating certain investments, using some of my savings just to save 2 different companies, right? And if I had this deep fear of spending money, what would have happened was it would have flattened me, right? I would have gone back into my panic attacks. I wouldn't have been able to keep showing up, keep working. And at the same time, I also had a publishing deal for What's Your Money Personality. And if I did not, and I got an advance on my publishing deal with Penn Macmillan. So the deal was, if I don't deliver and do everything at the set time that my publishers had set in the contract, I have to give the money back. Right? So how was I going to write and have enough of a mindset and keep my cool enough as everything is happening in my business if my fear of spending money and losing money was controlling me, right? So that's why I'm saying we want to be prepared for anything, and the more we can regulate around our nervous systems, the more calmly we behave, and the more we are able to make certain decisions around money. And I say this especially for entrepreneurs, right? If your business depends on you being sound of mind and your team is depending on you to keep it together, if you don't know how to regulate your nervous system when things go belly up, then you are happy when things are going well, you're sad when things are going bad, right? And when things take a turn for the absolute worst, you absolutely lose your mind. Then the chances of you turning everything around becomes so minor. And then it becomes harder to recoup what you are busy losing in the process, right? And you need to be able to just stay regulated, right? And know that it's not the end of the world, and you're not going to continue losing everything in like that. If you just stay and continue to make certain business decisions and think in a particular way as an entrepreneur, that you can turn situations around. And it's hard, guys. When you're going through hard situations, it's hard. So this is what I'm saying. You want to be regulated. You're not trying to get to the point, you don't want your safety to come from money, because the day when money has to leave and it's a do or die situation, it can flatten you and you will feel completely unsafe. So you need to find your safety from within and get to a point where you are emotionally regulated, right? And D, I had said to you that part of what you had described was also around vows of loyalty and vows of rebellion, right? And conflicting vows of loyalty and vows of rebellion. So here's the thing. Vows of loyalty are vows that we make to be loyal to our families and to emulate their behavior, be it romantic, financial, etc. So we emulate their behaviors without us even knowing. And vows are something that are made at a physical level. They're made in the ancestral plane, and they're also made at an akashic level, right? So what often happens is, for some of us, if we have experienced if what we have seen is that our family members, whenever they have money, they blow money as fast as possible and they spend it as fast as possible. If we have vows of loyalty, we are going to repeat those patterns and we're going to get rid of money as fast as possible, right? And then as we get to be teenagers, if you have a teenager, then you've experienced this. You go into rebellion. Suddenly your parents stop being the coolest thing on the planet. They start being the issue. You start seeing the faults with them. So what we do is we then say things like, I will never be like that. We start setting our vows of rebellion. Again, physically, ancestrally, akashic plane, right? And that's all like spiritual and material world, right? So what often happens is some of us made the vow to be, oh my gosh, I love my parents, I love my family so much, and then we made the vow of loyalty to emulate them, right? And so we behave in a similar manner with them when it comes to money. And then at some point, our inner teen starts to kick in with their vow of rebellion. And the inner teen goes, nope, this is not what we agreed to. As a teenager, I promised that I would never ever spend money like this. And then that part of us starts to hold on to money, hijacks us. And then at some point, the inner child takes over again because they could feel completely unsafe and they hijack us again. So most times, most of us are behaving with money from a point of view of a 4-year-old or a 16-year-old. So we tend to do this yo-yo thing of we're making money, we save money, we get rid of money. So then we also start to create, when we are in our inner child state and the inner child has hijacked us, especially around anything to do with money, what happens is then we're getting rid of money as fast as we make it. We spend it in ways that we don't understand. Then we wake up one day, the inner teen is in control and they're like, oh no, now we're going to adult with our money. We're going to keep it in control. So then, all that happens. And the inner child is also responsible for the manifestation of emergencies, right? So again, I don't really teach how to, how to release vows on live videos, because vows have there's a lot of things that happen. I just got a client and last week she had an incident with her hip and I was like, okay, cool. I don't know if it's a vow or something else, right? But vows are not something that I just do meditations on here willy-nilly. So that's why I only do them in the Money Magic course, because there's so much that's going on a spiritual level as we're releasing the vows, because we're going into the Akashic plane, we're also going into the ancestral plane, and we're asking other people that came before us to release their vows, right? So that we can all heal. So ultimately, what you want is to have no vow of loyalty, no vow of rebellion. You don't want to form any new vows, right? So I hope that explains everything. D, I hope that explains what is happening, what could be happening for you, right? So it could be any of those things, right? So my bet with you is on vows, right? And yeah, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I have opened up the Money Magic course still. I was supposed to close it on Saturday, but To be fair, I have not talked about the Money Magic course being open for registration the whole of last week. Part of it was because for the first time ever, I was doing the bank account challenge in a corporate. Never thought I would see the day, right, where I'd be talking about ancestral trauma and doing this work in corporate. But it was really, really lovely, and I did it with one of the top financial services companies in South Africa. So that was so nice. They gave me so much leeway and trust and freedom, and I just was like, oh my gosh. So, but it was a bit tiring coming right off of the back of the free 5-day challenge. So I just needed a bit of so I couldn't talk about the Money Magic course and talk about it being open and keep reminding you guys to sign up for it, because I was just plain tired. After every session, I was like, I am happy I'm doing this. I'm so blessed. But at the same time, I just need to rest a little, right? So the Money Magic course is still open for registration. It's actually always open for registration if people message me, right? You can go to wealthy-money.com/money magic. Again, wealthy-money.com/money magic. It's in the Money Magic course that I teach all of this work, right? I don't just teach it. In the Money Magic course, it's an experiential thing. Just like you had an entire experience with the bank account challenge, in the Money Magic course, we go deeper on helping you get out of debt and stay out of debt. So stop recreating the cycle of debt. I focus on helping you change your spending habits, right? Because you get access to the bank account challenge for free, right? So you get lifetime access to it when you sign up for the Money Magic course. So that just happens in there. And then the focus is also on increasing income and building generational wealth. So the aim in the Money Magic course is to change your entire money patterns that block you from increasing your income and building generational wealth and going beyond your current money set point. Most of us have been taught that there's really only one way to build wealth, and that's not true, right? We only think of just a few ways, but there are so many ideas and so many unique ways that we can tap into that and actually connect with our ancestors and use our own ancestral wisdom. So if you're loving these videos, you got so much value from the bank account challenge, then definitely sign up before Sunday, September 1st. There is a 42% discount for people that choose not to take the payment plan and choose to sign up once off in the Money Magic course. So the Money Magic course is priced at $6,999 once off. You get lifetime access, right? If you sign up before Sunday or by Sunday, the 1st of September, you get $3,000 off. So you get it for $3,999 once off, as opposed to $6,999. So you still get lifetime access to the bank account challenge, right? And if you choose to do a payment plan, you can pay over 20 months, $444 per month over 20 months. At the end of the 20 months, you get lifetime access, or you choose $888 per month over 10 months. And at the end of the 10 months, you get lifetime access. You also get a coaching session with me, right? So you get one coaching session with me where we talk about what it is that you need to do, or I walk you through and we go deeper in some of the meditations, some of the work where I go deeper to understand how you should be doing the course, right? Because this course is actually not meant to be done in a linear fashion. It's not one of those courses where you log in and you start from lesson 0, because we have lesson 0, and then you work yourself down to the rest of the lessons. No, the Money Magic course doesn't work when you do it like that, right? So you have to there's a way to do it, right? And that depends on your unique circumstances. So even though maybe your friend is in debt, you are in debt, and you hear your friend doing vows of loyalty, it doesn't mean that's where you are going to start, because we all have a different root cause to our debt. And I hope that if you've read my book, What's Your Money Personality, you start to understand that, right? Because you see how all the archetypes have different wounds and the different trauma leads, even though it leads to debt or other things, the root cause of that debt is completely different. So you do the work in a particular way after we have a coaching session. You also get 2 coaching sessions with Numi-san the first month that you join, and you get access to her on WhatsApp where you can ask questions of her every day on WhatsApp, right? So there's a lot of support, and you also get 2 group calls, fireside chats really, where I coach people in a group every second Monday of the month and every last Monday of the month. We had our fireside chat yesterday, and one of the new Money Magic students who signed up right after the bank account after the bank account challenge, joined her first fireside chat. So that was really, really nice. So if you have any questions and you're like, oh, I still have more questions, you can definitely check out episode 109 of the Money Magic course, and you can watch the YouTube video in there, because I explain episode 109 of the Money Magic podcast, right? You can get the podcast on YouTube. I recommend watching the video, although you can also listen on Spotify, Podbean, and iTunes. But on there, I do an entire masterclass, and in the masterclass, I show people the inside of the Money Magic course. And if you want more, you can always just hit me up for a discovery call. So if you want to have a free discovery call to understand more and to have and you have any questions for me, then definitely hit me up for a discovery call. I've been doing a whole lot of discovery calls last week, also why I was like, I'm a bit tired, right? So feel free, people definitely hit me up for discovery calls. So thank you so much, guys. I hope to see you in the next live session, or even in the Money Magic course. Have a fantastic evening or day further, wherever you are in the world. Cheers.